Hey guys, it's Crazy with another case for you. Today's case that we're going to be actually talking about is going to be about 24-year-old Kylen Schulte and her wife, 38-year-old Crystal Turner. Now, what you guys are looking at on the screen right now would be the last known image of the women alive. And unfortunately, on August 18th of this year, the two would be found deceased in a creek off the LaSalle Mountains where they had been camping. A little bit about the women. They both lived in Moab, Utah, and Kylen worked for a company called Moonflower Co., which is basically like a grocery store that sold organic foods. It does remind me of something where I'm from, we call Trader Joe's. Crystal, her wife, worked for a local McDonald's, and they had a bunny that they loved and took everywhere with them named Ruthie. The women were married on April 20th of this year in a treehouse in Arkansas, and by all accounts from friends and family, the women were very, very much in love. Now, they also did that van life lifestyle where pretty much that means it's where you can convert your vehicle of choice. Most people choose a van into a living situation and you're able to travel the world. Now that you guys know a little bit about Kylen and Crystal, let's get into why we're even here talking this case, and that is the double homicide. Now, I do want to point out really quick before we get started, most of my research came from the one Facebook group that I'm in that is run by Kylen's dad, Sean Paul, also from multiple news articles, and then whatever little information law enforcement gave us, which, like I said, little information. Now, on August 12th, Kylen worked her last shift at Moonflower, which would have been 7:30 a.m. to 2 p.m. On August 13th, Kylen and Crystal would meet up with friends at a tavern named Woody's, and it was when they met up with these friends that they started complaining of this creepy guy at their campsite. Now, it said that this guy was camping next to them kind of close. It made the women feel really uncomfortable, so they were actually going to move campsites because of it. I do want to point out before I continue that Sean Paul, Kylen's dad, is actually being helped right now by a private investigator named Jason Jenson. And it's where I learned in this article by Oxygen, it was posted on October 14th, that after the ladies left the tavern that day, they actually went to a friend's house. Now, from different articles I read, they had different times of what time the women left the tavern. I seen at 9, some were at 10, but it looks like after they left there, like I said, they went to their friend's house and they would have returned to their campsite around 1 a.m. Again, I'm not insinuating that the friends had anything to do with what happened to the women. It's just, I just wanted to incorporate that because it does give us more of a timeline. Now, unfortunately, no one knows what really happened when the girls got back to the campsite, but it's when they started doing a no-show, no-call for work that people started getting worried. Crystal had a shift on August 15th and she did not show up for work at her job at McDonald's. She also had a shift on the 16th, which again, no phone call, did not show up. Also, Kylen had a shift at Moonflower and she did not show up or call. Now, this is when local police would be contacted and an attempt to locate was actually issued for the missing couple. This is also when Kylen's dad went to his Facebook asking for help to help locate them. When you go to Kylen's dad's Facebook, it is so heartbreaking to look at because you can see everything unfold right in front of you. From the first post he did, asking for assistance to help locate the women, and then, of course, when they are located and located deceased. Now, when he was asking for assistance, that's when one of the friends, and I think she is an angel sent from up above, her name is Cindy Sue Hunter. Now, she tells Kylen's dad, I will go out and look for the girls. I watched an interview she had done, and she said that, she told Kylen's dad, I wasn't able to like climb mountains or do anything like that physically, but I will get in my car and I will go out there and walk around and look for them. And that's exactly what she did on August 18th. She packed up her car with some supplies and she headed out to help look for the women.
I got up Wednesday morning. I put an ice chest full of water, an ice chest full of fruits and vegetables. I think I had a jar of nuts. I had some blankets and towels in the car. I had some digging tools, and because I thought I'm going to find a wreck. Sean Paul said, I think maybe the police missed something. Maybe there's a broken fender, broken taillights, broken reflectors. look for something like that. And so that's what I went up there searching for, was an accident that had been missed.
Now, Cindy would go on looking for the girls. She would go to different campsites. She said she would flag people down in their vehicles, show them pictures of Kylen and Crystal. And then, sometime during while she was looking for them, Kylen's dad called her, Sean Paul. And she said she pulled over because she would never get service there. And she thought it was interesting because she has never had service when she would be out in that area. But when Sean Paul called her, she had service and she remained to have service the rest of the time she looked for the girls. Now, the next clip I'm going to play for you, I do want to give a little trigger warning because this is where Cindy Sue talks about uncovering the women's campsite. You know, she comes across their vehicle, which was a silver Kia Sorento. Then the bunny, Ruthie, remember they had a bunny they took everywhere with them. She finds the bunny in a cage. The bunny looked dirty. And then she finds Kylen's body in a creek.
I saw a pet carrier inside of a black, like a dog pen, sitting on the ground. And so I walked over to the car first, and I think the car first. I honestly don't remember. It's in my statement that I gave the police. But I saw bunny hay and bunny food and stuff. And so then I walked over to the tent and I peeked in the tent and there was no one in the tent. And I walked over to the bunny and I told the bunny, I was really sorry I couldn't remember her name and that I couldn't help her yet because I didn't know if I was in a crime scene or not. I didn't know what I had walked into. And so I called Sean Paul and said, I have found their campsite. And so, of course, he's asking me, do you see the girls? Where are the girls? And I said, there's no one here. And he said, well, maybe they went hiking. And I said, well, there's no hiking on this side of the road. I said, this is more like walking. I said, so I'll just walk around and see if I can see anything at all. And I walked over around the back of the car to the passenger side and I wanted to walk away from that area because I realized that it could be a crime scene by now and I need to not touch anything, not disturb anything. I walked over a little mound of dirt and I noticed there was a creek bed there. And I said, oh, there's a whole pack of like Gatorade bottles or something. And they were torn out of the plastic sleeves, and they were scattered all over the ground. And I'm talking to Sean Paul the whole time. And I said, I saw Kylen's body in the water. I didn't say that to him. I immediately turned my head to the right and just started looking anywhere but at her. But eventually I had to tell him it was her because I knew from her build that it couldn't be Crystal. I didn't realize that she was naked from the waist down because she was submerged in water. And I don't know if she was face up or face down because I never could see her face. So we don't know. She looked strange to me. I don't know how to describe it. Her limbs were at odd angles. They appeared to be at odd angles to me for somebody who was laying in a creek, that was running. Mm-hmm. Her limbs just seemed odd. They were kind of bent. I don't know how to describe that really. And I couldn't see her face. So I don't know if her face something was laying on her face, or again, if she was face down. I just don't know. I don't know. And once I confirmed that it was a body, by then Sean Paul is screaming at me to get in my car. And so I ran and got in my car. And
now, Cindy would not find Crystal. It would actually be law enforcement when they arrive. And that's because when Sean Paul learned that his daughter had just been killed, he, of course, got, worried for Cindy's own safety. And like she said, he told her, get back in the vehicle, lock your windows, lock your car, wait for law enforcement. And that's what she did. Also, like she stated, and what's in the warrant is that both women would be found, unclothed from the waist down. Also, that one of them would have their bra lifted up, exposing their breasts. Even though the women were found like that, we still don't know. Law enforcement has not said if either of them have been, sexually assaulted. They did release a statement on September 28th stating that the Grand County Sheriff Office has enlisted numerous labs and technicians to assist in the forensic analysis of items of interest in the case. It did go on to say that it could take several months or even more to complete. So it does make one wonder if, in fact, they did get any DNA off the women's body. Now, like Cindy had said, the girls were shot to death. They actually had multiple gunshot wounds per the warrant, the back, the chest, and the side. Also, in the warrant, it stated that Kylen actually told one of her friends, you guys, that if anything happened to them, they were murdered. And it makes you really think about this creepy guy. Who was this that was camping by them? And if there's a lesson to be learned, trust your instinct. And unfortunately, the women did feel there was something weird about this guy and they wanted to move from him. And I think the lesson for us to all know about, ladies, is definitely trust your instinct. And not only that, document it. If there's someone giving you the creeps, send it in a text to somebody, put it out there in the universe because you just never know. And hey, it's better to be safe than sorry. Now, as far as Grand County Sheriff's Office, they have released quite a few statements on their Facebook page. Obviously, one being that they're investigating the double homicide, they're working with the FBI, and also they are working with the state of Utah Special Bureau of Investigation. They did release a statement on September 16th that stated the Grand County Sheriff's Office has been in contact with Florida authorities, and we are actively looking into any connection between the Gabby Petito missing person case and the double homicide that occurred in Grand County. Now, the very next day, though, which would have been September 17th, they put out another press release stating it has been determined that Gabby Petito missing person case is not related to the double homicide case involving Crystal and Kylen. One thing I noticed early on with this case, the Grand County Sheriff was quick to put out that the public had nothing to fear. In fact, they put that out the very next day, stating that the Grand County Sheriff Office believes there is no current danger to the public in the Grand County community. Now, this led a lot of people to wonder, how can you put that out there when no one's been arrested yet? And I 100% agree with that. By all means, the family, what I can gather, seemed quite frustrated with the lack of effort coming from the Grand County Sheriff's Office. And on September 4th, Kylen's dad, Sean Paul, actually came down to Moab to do his own investigating. And every day, you guys, Kylen's father would set up this clue booth in different locations. And pretty much what that is, people were able to come to this clue booth and either drop off possible clues or write them down. He would then go through them, and anything of value he would take to law enforcement. Now, by far, Sean Paul has been the boots on the ground trying to find answers for the girls' murders. One of the items that was turned into Mr. Schulte at this clue booth would have been a pair of keys. Of course, he turns those into law enforcement, but everyone had thought this might be a big clue. And even other people had tried to connect Brian Laundrie to those keys because on the keychain there was like a gym membership little key knob thing on there, and it had rock climbing, and people tried to connect this photo to that gym. But the other day, the private investigator, Jason Jenson, that's helping the case, like I said, he was actually on Chris from the interview room, and he made this statement about the keys.
What they're referring to is there was a set of keys that were found at the crime scene subsequent to the scene being cleared by law enforcement. So there was wide speculation that maybe the keys belonged to the killer, even someone saying to me at some point in this last couple of weeks that maybe the keys belonged to Brian Laundrie, so he had to fly back to Florida to get another set of keys. Fortunately, the key is no longer an issue. They identified who the keys belonged to, and he was camping at that spot on the 20th after the scene was cleared. He was unaware that it was even a murder crime scene, but he camped there. I mean, it's the wilderness. You don't expect there to be a crime scene. So he left a set of keys, but it wasn't like a car key. It had a couple gym keys on it. And they researched, the symbols on the keys and found out from the owner of the gym who it belonged to. Contact was made to him, and he's just some guy in Texas that was going back home at that point.
Another interesting thing he said was that someone turned in a 9mm casing.
We know that there were shell casings left at the crime scene, and somebody even left one shell casing on Sean Paul Schulte's table, a casing of a 9mm. So we're hoping that that was something that they, this person found at the crime scene and collected and brought to Sean Paul, but we don't know that. So I don't know what the rounds were or the type of gun that was used, but to me, that seemed to convey a message to him, hey, I found this at the crime scene.
Now, normally what I would be doing right here for the case would be going into the different theories, but for this one, I'm actually going to hold off on that for part 2 since I'm still looking at all of that, and I'm still trying to get my hands on the actual warrant. Now, if you want to know more about this case, please hit that subscribe button. This is definitely going to be one that I'm following closely. I don't know, ever since I went to Kylen's dad's Facebook for the very first time, I just felt so much pain for him because not only has Kylen been murdered, but he also lost his son in 2015. He was actually murdered too and shot. So, I just want to be able to help this family out as much as possible. So my platform, I'm going to make sure that I'm using it by spreading as much awareness for them. So with that being said, make sure you guys like it or dislike it and share this video. Thank you guys, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye.